coming in. It keeps growing and growing, so that makes me happy. So this presentation is about Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiac sign. And I did a lot of research on the connections of Ophiuchus and what that means. And this presentation, it kind of blew me away once I started putting it together, because it goes way beyond astrology. Like it's exactly what sidereal astrology is. Sidereal astrology, my belief, is almost like the Akashic records. It's like once you show that you're ready for the truth and to be in true alignment and to present yourself and to listen and to receive, then the information flows, and when it flows, it's beyond. And that's part of what the whole mission is of Sidereal Revolution, the Facebook group that we have, is to, and also the Sidereal Bites, $5 a month. So this is a free webinar, but soon I'm going to wind down the free, and you would have to just pay a $5 subscription a month, and we'll meet like this once a week. So that's a great price. That's like $1.25 a week to listen to all this information. But anyway, the purpose of this is to sort of arm you with this cosmic knowledge of sidereal. Sidereal means star time, or of the stars, from the stars. So that's the whole purpose of this, is to arm you, because there's a lot of flack that we get from tropical astrologers because they just don't know, and it's easier to attack than to listen, to receive. And this is what these sessions are, especially this one. So if you can stay till the end, because I'm going to tie all this in with, it's interesting because a lot of disclosure of humanity's future is actually hidden within really well-produced sci-fi films. So if you see a sci-fi film that's highly budgeted, well-produced, and well promoted, there's a disclosure in there that's like giving you hints to the evolution of humanity. So if you stay till the end and you listen to this whole presentation, and then we watch this clip that's less than 4 minutes, I think, or 5 minutes, from a sci-fi film that came out many years ago, this is exactly what we're talking about. So just try to stick around. I'm going to try to get through this in an hour, but I talk way, way too much. So I just want to see who's here. I want to say hi to some people. Oh, wow, we have a lot of people. That's so cool. All right, there's too many to say hi, but anyway, you know who you are because you're on. So what's up? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right away with my slideshow presentation, and then we're just going to go from there, and then we'll just try to save the chats because I'm not going to be able to see my chat box once I do the presentation. So here we are. We're going to kick it here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you see my presentation up. All right. So we're going to work through the slides so I can keep on track. Okay. So, well, that's all my contact information for those of you who don't have it, which I'm sure most of you do, because somehow you got on here. So, all right. But if you need a minute, write it all down. So Ophiuchus is the 13th zodiac sign. And these are the new dates. In the last presentation, we spoke about precession of the equinox and why the dates are off. And then also true sidereal astrology uses the accurate sizes of the constellations. So all of these factor into being different sun signs. But we're not going to get too far into that. So we're just going to go through because there's a lot to cover. So, okay, so Ophiuchus. This is what Ophiuchus looks like. And I actually have that tattoo on my arm. Right here. That constellation. Because that's my sun sign too. I'm Scorpio Ophiuchus. So listen to the language that I talk about, because this is how you will be able to have a conversation with someone who doesn't believe in sidereal astrology. So let me just check my next slide. Okay, yeah, this is exactly what. Okay, so this is what a fucus looks like. A fucus occupies part of the ecliptic, same part of space as Scorpio, which is why when we read charts, we say the Scorpio Ophiuchus cusp, because they share the same part of the sky. Ophiuchus is the northern part of the ecliptic, and Scorpio is the southern part, the lower part. And it's a really big constellation. The sun actually spends more time in Ophiuchus than it does in Scorpio. All right, and then we're going to get down all the way to it, and we're going to reveal some hidden secrets, which is why they say there's no 13 zodiac signs. So this presentation will prove the power behind that. Okay, so I found this today, and I just shared it all over because I thought it was so funny. Because this is a tropical astrologer, and she did a meme that says, "There's a 13 there's a 13 sign. There's a 13 sign now. What do you think about?" And then the person who's supposed to be the astrologer is throwing a brick at the person, right? And then the astrologer comments, "There is no 13th sign. There will never be a 13th sign, period." And that's kind of how it's been. And we're going to kind of disprove that through science. And the science is attached to ancient cosmology and creation stories. And those creation stories are going to blow you away with the reality. All right. So this is kind of what we deal with. And so I did a comment today. I don't know, maybe some of you got the text. I think I sent in a text that was like, I'm going to teach you how to like, I forget, something about breaking the bricks or something like that, you know, so we won't worry about that anymore. So first line of knowledge is you go to what I call the Muggle library, which is good sometimes. It's the dictionary.com, it's Wikipedia. Well, Earth Sky News is not so Muggle, it's kind of real deal, and space.com. So these are all legitimate websites. And for those of you who can't see the presentation, I'm going to, just want to make sure everybody can see it. Okay. Let me just do one more thing. Okay. I'm going to read this to you. This is from Wikipedia. The ecliptic forms the center for the zodiac, a celestial belt about 20 degrees wide, right? With the latitude through which the sun, moon, and planets always appear to move through. So that's called the zodiac belt. Traditionally, this region is divided into 12 signs of 30-degree longitude, each of which approximates the sun's motion in 1 month. In ancient times, the signs corresponded roughly to the 12 of the constellations that straddle the ecliptic. These signs are sometimes still used in modern terminology. The first point of Aries was named when the March equinox, which is March 21st, sun was actually in the constellation of Aries. That's in the beginning. It has since moved into Pisces because of precession of the equinox. And that is what we always talk about. That is why it's 24 degrees off. So that's from Wikipedia. Now, this is from Earth Sky News. The ecliptic is an imaginary line on the sky that marks the annual path of the sun. It is the projection of Earth's orbit onto the celestial sphere. All right, so that's just more information there. Dictionary magazine, dictionary.com, you know, the same thing. Space.com, okay, which is amazing because this is all astronomy, and astronomers really don't like astrologers because astronomers only know of astrologers that do tropical astrology, and they're always way off because that's the truth of tropical astrology is way off from the actual sky. So here from space.com. In addition, the ecliptic crosses through the constellation of Ophiuchus, the serpent holder. In fact, the sun spends more time traversing through Ophiuchus than nearby Scorpius. It officially resides in Scorpius for less than a week, from November 23rd through the 29th. It then moves into Ophiuchus on November 30th and remains in its boundaries for more than 2 weeks. But now my screen is in the way, so I can't see the rest of it. But you get the gist, right? All right. So here's a visual of what it looks like. We actually go around the sun. So this is the Earth. So on December, when you're looking at the sun, behind the sun is Scorpio. Okay? It's not Sagittarius. Sagittarius is over here. On June, you're looking at the sun, right? You're going to see Gemini in the sky. So this is just a visual of what it looks like, right? This is the ecliptic. This is the zodiac belt. All right? These are just links. I'm going to show you some links later. Now, you do some research on Ophiuchus, you'll probably run into this information. And I'm going to read this information to you. So this is the basic level of what Ophiuchus is and the connections. And then from these connections, we're going to keep on going. Okay. So Ophiuchus is the only sign in the zodiac which is linked to a real man. So that's important to know because we're going to try to understand why is that a real man, whereas the rest of the zodiac are archetypal energies, mainly having to do with the inner beast of humans, right? So that's part of what we're talking about. But this person is a man, is a physical living being that's been documented as living. All right, so let me continue reading. This man lived in ancient Egypt. See, so we say Ophiuchus is related to Asclepius, which is Greek, but all Greek stories come from Egypt. So Ophiuchus, this man lived in ancient Egypt around 27th century BCE, and his name was Imhotep, following the pattern of Enki. Enki is the Sumerian god, right? The Sumerian creator god. Many of the same attributes of Imhotep can also be found in the biblical Hebrew man Joseph, son of Jacob. Imhotep is credited with many accomplishments, including the knowledge and use of medicine. So it's important to know medicine because we're going to get into that. It is said that Imhotep brought the art of healing to mankind. The symbol of the serpent, which is still widely used today, represent the medical profession, was used to represent Imhotep. So the staff, the caduceus, which we're going to show you in a little bit. The sign of Ophiuchus is patterned after the original serpent holder, who was Lord Enki. That's the Sumerian creator god. Imhotep, who was known to the Greeks as Asclepius, was the incarnation of Enki, who was the originator of the Ophiuchus pattern. The 12 signs of the solar zodiac are Aries all the way through Pisces. The stellar zodiac, this is important. The stellar zodiac once featured 13 signs. The large 13th sign is positioned near Scorpio and Sagittarius and has been named Ophiuchus or Serpentaris, the serpent bearer. In esoteric tradition, Ophiuchus is considered the hidden or the invisible sign. But now my thing my screen is covering that up. So it just says it's the invisible sign associated with secret knowledge, immortality, and wisdom. All right. So that's that, right? Now I'm going to go to the next page. But I want to read something because this ties in. This is a book I'm going to reference a lot throughout. It's called Maya Cosmogenesis. It's the whole thing about 2012. And I'm going to show you this right here. I thought the Maya end date simply reflected our movement into the age of Aquarius. However, as I searched deeper into the Maya wisdom, I learned that ancient Maya astronomers looked at the heavens differently than Western counterparts in Greece. They used 13 constellations rather than 12. Okay? This fact would result in a different timing for the anticipated shift of world ages. All right? So it's even in Mayan cosmology, and there's a lot of information we're going to go over because they have a strong connection to the sun being in the galactic center on 2012, which is the 13th Baktun, which is also important. So these are all the things that are going to be revealed today in the webinar. Okay. This is important, even though it's quick. Imhotep's title, Chief of the Observers, that's what his name is. And this book is a great book. It's by Robert Bauval. Imhotep, the African, architect of the cosmos. And so he's known as the pyramid builder, the god of medicine, everything, right? So Chief of Observer, which became the regular title of High Priest of Heliopolis, may itself suggest an occupation connected, and this is important, with astral rather than solar observation. So this is the point I make a lot with tropical astrology and sidereal astrology, is that sidereal is astral, we connect with the stars. Tropical connects with the sun, with solar, the sun perception from planet Earth and the seasons, which is why that's when they say tropical works. But it's not. That's not astrology, because astrology means the study of the stars. It's astral. So tropical astrology is something else. Tropical astrology is planetary influence or something like that, which is also fine. Architect of the cosmos. Imhotep was initiated into the mysteries revealed at Heliopolis, the oldest religious city of the country, and was raised to the position of high priest. There existed at Saqqara a school of magicians under the aegis of this ancient sage who was both astronomer and astrologer. So that's what we are, as sidereal astrologers. We're astronomers and astrologers. He was the architect of the cosmos and taught the motions of the stars and the constellations. So he was a sidereal astrologer, okay? Imhotep, related to Asclepius, related to Ophiuchus, the 13th zodiac sign, was an astronomer and astrologer. He was a sidereal astrologer. He taught the motions of the stars and the constellations, okay? So this is the connection here, all right? And this is something that I saw and I thought it was really important. I want to read this out to you. On the northern side of his Saqqara step pyramid, Djoser emerges from his tomb in a statue form into a statue box. So he's in a little box. This is a statue. And this is really interesting. Or a serdab, but it's a box, right? Which has just a pair of peepholes to allow him to see out with eyes once inlaid with rock crystals. Djoser's statue, and this is really important, gazes out through peepholes in the serdab box, tilted upwards at 13 degrees, okay? So that's important to know. This is the connection here. 13 degrees it's tilted to the northern sky where the king joined the circumpolar stars. So let me explain this to you. The northern sky is where the North Star is, and that's called the circumpolar region. And they also I have it in my other book here, but I'll get to that in a minute. It's called the Garden of Eden, and the reason why it's called the Garden of Eden, because those stars are never seen to set or die, because they're circumpolar. They go around the North Star. So that's the Milky Way, that's Cassiopeia, and that's Draco. It goes around the North Star because the Egyptian cosmology says, you know, you're born in the east and you die and you set in the west. These stars do neither. They just keep going around. So they're said to be immortal. This is the place of immortality, the Garden of Eden, the northern circumpolar stars. So the fact that his eyes, you know, they can point his eyes at 15 degrees and they can still hit the circumpolar stars. They can point his eyes at 10 degrees and still hit the circumpolar stars. So the question is, why at 13 degrees in the northern sky? So this is a great connection that I don't even think the writer of this book made this connection, because I don't think he's on the path that we're all on. But that's an important thing to look at. 13 degrees to the point of Garden of Eden, of the space of immortality, all right? Which is what the 13th zodiac sign is a resurrection, the cosmic shaman that teaches the medicine so we can resurrect and never die, all right? So this is really important. I was blown away when I saw this. Okay, this is just more about Imhotep. This is a book called Astrotheology and Sidereal Mythology, which I encourage all of you to pick up if you're into this. And here again, the stellar zodiac once featured 13 signs. The large 13th sign is positioned near Scorpio and Sagittarius, as has been named Ophiuchus or Serpentaurus, the serpent bearer. In the esoteric tradition, Ophiuchus is considered the hidden or invisible sign. In arcane lore, it is associated with secret knowledge, immortality, and divine wisdom. And more about when it passes. It represents the moon, which takes 13 months to traverse the zodiac. So that's really important to know. The moon has 13 lunar cycles. Okay. The zodiac. And the Virgin Mary, so it's connected to Virgin Mary, who in turn represents ancient Sophianic sisterhood which continues to operate from the higher levels of the power pyramid. So Sophia, divine cosmic energy, is what this is saying, connected to Virgin Mother Mary, which is what I always talk about, which is divine, feminine, cosmic mother energy. All right, so Ophiuchus is connected to that. So this is more about the Ophiuchus, which we kind of just keep reading over, and I don't want to spend more time. Now, here's a really important thing, and this is where we're going to get to the 13. All these stories, all these creation stories, these religions or these civilizations, they all have the same creation story. They're Son of God, or S-U-N or S-O-N, Son of God. It's just pretty much a story of the sun. It's an astronomical story. And I think I shared with people on the last webinar to watch the movie Zeitgeist and look for that part. And it might be on the Sidereal Revolution group. There might be a link. But Horus, right, born on the 25th. All these, Horus, Attis, Mithras, Krishna, Dionysus, Buddha, Hercules, Timus, Osiris, all born on the 25th. All born of a virgin, all crucified, all, resurrected 3 days later. All this stuff, all the stories. This is the story of the sun, what the sun does on December 25th, between December 24th and December 25th. So I'm going to kind of share that with you on the next slide if I have it here. No, I don't have it. Do I? Yeah, well, I have a conclusion of it, but let me just break it down to you. So on December 21st, which is the solstice, the sun is said to be at its furthest south, right? Which is, the ancients say the sun dies. So that's the sun that's dying. And it sits for 3 days, and then it starts to resurrect. And on the 25th, it starts to move back 1 degree a day, just like the sun does. 1 degree a day, 30 degrees a month. That's where we get the cycles of the sun. But from the 21st, and it sits for 3 days, it's dead. It's not moving, nowhere, okay? And then it starts coming back again. And that's the story here. Dies for 3 days and resurrects. That's all the story is. Okay, so let me break down 13, because remember, we're looking at 12 zodiac signs. We're looking at 12 months, right? So we're all under the whole thing of 12. And so now the question is 13. Who is 13? Why is 13 hidden? And where do we see the symbol of 13 everywhere? And this is where I'm going to show you where we see the 13 everywhere. Everybody knows this as the Last Supper, okay? These pillars right here represent the seasons, the 4 seasons of the year. These are Jesus's disciples, and I forget, each one is related to a zodiac sign. And if you look, there's 12 disciples, all right? He's in the middle, right, as Libra. You see the setting? This is what Libra looks like. He's right in the middle between the 6 zodiac signs, which is 12. But if you look here, you have 12 disciples plus 1, which equals 13 total. So this is where we get 13 from. Okay, so where is this connected to? So let's go back into Egyptian cosmology. And most of you know I explained that I connect strong with Egyptian cosmology because it seems to me the less distorted by the controlling entities that control our information. Egyptian mythology seems the purest to me, which is why I always go back to it, and it never proves me wrong. So I did some research, and here's what I come up with. Here's Ra in his solar boat, okay? And he's the sun god Ra. He has the sun above his head, which also looks like the symbol of Libra, which is over here, Libra, right? The symbol of Libra has a hump here, half circle, which represents the sun setting in between 2 horizons, okay? Half, balance, which is where you see Jesus here, between half of the zodiac. So Ra has that symbol on his head. That's the sun. He has the Scarabaeus beetle here, which Scarabaeus beetle stands for cosmic divine birth, because the Scarabaeus beetle is able to have a birth and can conceive without a partner. So it's cosmic. It's the virgin birth. that's what the Scarabaeus beetle represents, because it doesn't have to mate or have sex with an opposite partner to get fertilized to have an offspring. It does it on its own. So it's an immaculate conception being, right? So that's with Ra on his solar boat. And if you notice, the symbol of Ophiuchus looks like Ra's solar boat, which I didn't have this in this presentation, but that solar boat also, they say, looks like wormhole, but we're not going to get into that because that's too trippy. But if you look here, you have 1 with the symbol of Libra on his head, the Scarabaeus beetle, and 12 helpers, 12 disciples, okay? Then again, you have Horus here, solar son of God, Horus, with the sun on his head, with his staff, and 12 disciples. Each of them have stars above their heads. What that means is they're connected to the stars. So these are the 12 constellations, and this is the 1, which is the 13th zodiac sign, which is a living human being, which knows the art of resurrection and immortality. So this is the connection. This is why we need to connect with the 13, because we need to resonate with that. Okay, so let me just go to chat because I want to see, was that clear with everyone? Is everyone on track with that? Or do we have any questions? Because this is going to start getting a little deeper. So just put anything in the chat if it wasn't clear and you need some clarity, because I want to just be able to share that with you. Okay, I don't see any chats coming in, so I'm just going to keep moving on unless somebody wants to put a chat in there. All right. Yeah, who wrote? Can't see. Oh, Julie. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad. Okay. I'm glad everyone is staying clear. Okay. Great. Because it's gonna get like, we're gonna get trippy right now. And this is what I love, but it's like it's gonna go a little off track from astrology, and it's gonna get into scientific astrology, and it's gonna be weird. Oh yeah, suppressed by the Roman Empire. Yeah, it sounds like Hapacha. Okay, I'm gonna move on, guys. So I might not be able to see the chat. Okay, this is a great writer that I follow. I have 2 of his books I'm going to reference here. Genesis of the Cosmos, Paul Lavalette. Interested, just pick him up. These are great reads, very scientific, but he's also a spiritual guy, so he's kind of open. And here we go. It is also significant that she is able to recover only. Oh, this is about. Oh my God, Isis recovers Osiris's pieces, because I forget, is it Set that cuts them up into pieces? But she's a bunch of pieces, and I forget how many, I think 28. But she can only find 13. How interesting is that, right? Resurrection, she resurrects him from the dead with 13 pieces. So 13, here you go again. So this is the things you have to look out for when you're studying. This is what we teach in the masterclass too. Like the masterclass actually starts next week, and it's full, but later on I'll have an offer so you can make an application, and we're going to have another one coming up. But I don't just teach you how to read a chart and all this stuff. I teach you things to look for when you're researching, because you're going to develop your own way and your own way of sharing. Okay, so this is one of the things. Okay, she's able to recover only 13 Osiris's pieces. Because this number is an esoteric symbol for death and transformation to a new state of being, a concept depicted in the Arcanum 13 of the Tarot, this rebirth concept effectively describes the series of deaths and rebirths that individual Aetherons would undergo as they transform through their successions of ether states, a principle also portrayed by the Hindu god Shiva in his role as the cosmic dancer. Moreover, this rebirth metaphor also anticipates the coming transcendent emergence of explicit order, Horus. All right, so this is what we're going to get into also in the Mayan cosmology that ties into this. We're going to see a part where the shamans practice this through the plant medicines that release the DMT, which is what releases when you pass over to the other side so you can transcend. But we're going to get into that in a minute. All right, so I'm going to move up here. These are the symbols that we talked about earlier. All right, this is the staff of Imhotep, which is also the staff of Asclepius. Is the caduceus. Okay, and I'm going to explain a lot of what the staff is. And like I said, Egyptian cosmology is the purest form that I found, because I'm going to show you something right now. Here you have in Egypt the uraeus, the staff of Osiris, which is the caduceus. It's a shaft. The shaft means matter. It means the human body, matter, the physical. The pineal gland is the pineal gland in your head, which is connected to cosmic consciousness, which is where, when you pass on to the other side, when you die, you have DMT that releases from this pineal gland, which allows you to transcend. And through the plant medicines, it brings in DMT that mimics the DMT coming from your pineal gland. So your body has that otherworldly passing on without dying. So it's called The Art of Resurrection Without Dying. And it's actually a movie on that and a book on that by Freddie Silva, The Art of Resurrection, where he goes through all the mythologies, all the civilizations that practice this. And it's actually a privilege to actually be able to experience death without dying, which is this practice of the plant medicines. So here you have the pineal gland and the serpent, two serpents intertwined, and it's intertwined. So serpent represents cosmic knowledge. It represents immortality, cosmic knowledge, and also it represents Kundalini, which we see right here, which is energy. And it's interesting to note that it spirals up the pole 7 times, which is related to the 7 chakras. All right, so this is the purest form, and you can see modern day medicine makes it just a regular stick with wings and a little ball and snakes. All right, so you can't really get into the mythology. In India, it looks more spiritual. You see the body, and you see the staff down the middle, and you see the awakening and the fire. All right, and these are all the symbols of the medicine, the caduceus symbol. Here you find it. Okay, same symbol. 2 snakes, snake going up, a staff. Okay, so I hope that was clear. Okay, so here's where we're going to start merging to the sky. All right, so I'm going to give myself a little plug. This is actually my photo right here, the one to the right of the Milky Way, and that's actually Jupiter right there. I took this a few years ago. All right, so here we go. I'm going to stay on track because at this point it starts to get cosmic and sometimes I fly off. Here we have Ophiuchus. His foot is in the galactic center, right at the Great Rift. Well, if you can see on your screen, I'm not sure, which is why I have my photo there. I just didn't do that to give myself some props. I did it to show you something because this is like not so clear. His foot is right here, which is right over here, which Maya cosmology refers to this as the great Lama that brings the message. And they also refer to this as the crossroads between the 2 worlds. So now this is going to be the language that we're going to be talking about, is the crossroads between the 2 worlds, or the other world, or the underworld, and it's also called Xibalba. Okay, so we're going to kind of start referencing this stuff here. Over here to the bottom left is an image that I got from that same book that I'm going to reference a lot, Maya Cosmogenesis, the whole 2012 story. This is what they show. This here is the Milky Way turned on its side. Right here is that great rift that we keep talking about. And here is the stairway. Right? So the ceremony with the shaman, this is a shaman king. This is a king. And back in those days, the shaman kings would do ceremonies with mushrooms and cacao to enter into the state of altered consciousness. All right, so here's the symbol of the shaman king inside the galactic center. in the Great Rift. He's said to take on this concoction, this plant medicine, and have his journey for his people. So he goes into the other world, or to the cross worlds. Oh, Calvin. Oh, yeah, you can't see my mouse? Yeah, I don't know what's up with this thing. Sometimes you can see it or not. But anyway, so he goes into the other world. He visits the other world. He retrieves the messages and the information of higher consciousness and brings it back to his people. So this is Mayan cosmology, which practice the 13th zodiac sign, which how did they sit in this image, place the shaman king on his plant medicine journey into the other world. They placed him exactly where Ophiuchus is. You know, why didn't they place him down here or here or here, whatever, right? So they placed him right there. So that should make you kind of say, they're onto something. There's a connection. And then here's just something that I grabbed. I think this was also part of the Mayan cosmology, is they also trace this Milky Way to represent the Ouroboros, which is the cycles of life, which is death and resurrection, an ever-ending cycle, which there's no beginning, there's no end. Endings are beginnings, beginnings are endings. You know, the infinity, number 8, a snake connected to Scorpio. So all of that stuff, they connected also with the Milky Way because of these journeys into the other world. Okay, so I'm going to move on now. So, really important. If you stay to the end, I'm going to share this clip from a sci-fi movie that's been really well produced. It's actually been redone and well produced. But it's so trippy that I don't want to turn anyone off and think that this is like some kind of like weird game thing. But I want you to pay attention to these things that I'm going to point out to you right now. Here's a picture of the stars, of the constellations looking at the galactic center, and the constellations of Scorpio and the constellation of Sagittarius. Now, one of the things that you'll notice once you start doing your research is that pretty much none of the constellations represent what they are, except for Scorpio. But if you look at Scorpio, it actually looks like a hammerhead shark. If you look at Sagittarius, it looks like a teapot. In the sky, Sagittarius is a teapot. It's not an archer with a bow. So the fact that these constellations have these names, that means that there's something else going on there. And I believe it's the energy of these star patterns, a part of the archetype of our evolution, archetype energy that we have to follow for our evolution. And that's what's being entrained. So it's like, okay, now you're in Scorpio. It's time to die and go into the galactic center and release, and then come back with the arrow of the archer, with clear sight. But it doesn't say come back and make tea, right? Because if you were following what they look like, you'd be like, okay, and then you come back and you make tea. You know, it's like the archer. So there's an archetypal energy with our evolution. This is what the zodiac represents for us. But pay attention to this. This arrow, see, here's the tea kettle here. On the right, if you can't see my mouse, I'll say on the right, you're going to see the blue outline of the tea kettle. Right above it is you're going to see this arrow pointing, and this is an X right here, direction of center of Milky Way galaxy, right? And that's where the arrow is pointing to. And this is really important if we want to stay around to the end with that sci-fi movie. M8, the Lagoon Nebula, plays a role in this somehow as a beacon. And I'm going to show this to you later in that movie, and it's kind of tripped me out. But the point is, this arrow is pointing towards something. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place this arrow right where we see it, above the tea kettle in an angle. Above the tea kettle in an angle is pointing directly to the galactic center, pointing to this star. This is really important because this is where we start getting kind of crazy. This star is called Sagittarius A star. This star is a pulsar. This pulsar marks the exact entry point that we're merging with another galaxy called the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy. And this galaxy we've been merging with for, I think it was 3 billion years. But we've only found out about it in 1994. So somehow the ancients knew that another world was coming through this point of the sky, which is why they said this is the crossroads between the two worlds. All right. So the ancients knew this. Why? Because this is the whole ancient future thing. We've done this all before. So we're just going to kind of slowly get into that part. But there's a pulsar that pulses. And I'm going to show you what a pulsar is, and we're going to get into that. All right. But how ironic that there's a pulsar, a beacon marking the entry point of another galaxy that we just found out about. That is an arrow of the archer points to here. Okay, so we're going to get into that, and you're going to see what we come up with. Here we are. I'll just write it down here. The same sense of shock came as scientists announced that the sun, the moon, a planet, and our siblings were not born into the familiar band of stars known as the Milky Way galaxy, but we actually belong to a strange formation with the unfamiliar name of the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy. So scientists are kind of proven that, hey, we might not even be from Milky Way. We might have entered the Milky Way. We might be the ones that are like not here. And it's being proven, and of course it takes time and research, but this is kind of what's coming up. Here's one image here, and this big ring here is the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy, discovered in 1994. All right, but it's been going on for billions of years. Here's another image to the right. You can see the merging. Here's our galactic plane here, and here's the Sagittarius Galaxy merging with us, and this is what we see. I'm going to show you another image of that. Here's our sun here, okay? And when we're looking towards the Milky Way, we see the Milky Way bulge, which is the Great Rift, which is that big, bright part of the Milky Way. And right behind it, we see the dwarf galaxy of Sagittarius coming into us. And here you go onto the right. You see this blotch right here to the right. That's an image of the Sagittarius Dwarf Galaxy coming into our galaxy. And that's the same exact point where the 13th zodiac sign is. That's the same exact point where the cosmic Mayan shamans position that cosmic that shaman king on his plant medicine journey. It's this exact point. Now, how did they know that? We just discovered this merging in 1994. So how did the ancients know that? This is what I'm talking about. All right. So now here's where we get a little trippy with everything, because this gets scientific. And this is the same author that I spoke about, Paul Laviolette. Entities who think about geometry would most certainly have thought about this way of measuring angles. That's just part of the book. This strongly implies that the pulsars appear where they are by design. That's important to know. Furthermore, that design is intended to get the attention of a society that lives exactly where we are. The pulsars are there due to someone's intervention. The almost inescapable and other conclusion is that the constellations were named by beings who understood what was going on and who had to mark those positions so as to draw attention of future technological society, right? So this is a guy who researches. This is a real well-renowned researcher that wrote this book about these pulsars. He put this in that book. Okay, so let me go to the next slide, because I want to try to get this in within an hour. The 12 zodiac signs in the ancient astrological lore are found to encode a physics that describes the spontaneous explosive creation of matter and energy. Furthermore, using constellation pointers, the zodiac indicates the galactic center as the location of this energetic outburst that is, according to star lore mythology, Sagittarius. Is aiming his arrow tip, Gamma Sagittarii, at the heart of the Scorpion, which was specifically represented by Alpha Scorpii, a bright red supergiant star. So that's Antares, the star Antares. which I have a tattoo on that arm because I have Scorpio on that arm. Regressing these star positions back in time, we find that the Archer's arrow shaft would have been precisely aligned with the Scorpion's heart around 13,865 BCE. With this trajectory sighting, Sagittarius's arrow indicates the location of the galactic core within 0.35 degrees of arc. That's pretty tight. That's super tight. Knowing too that Sagittarius and Scorpio together represent archetypal symbols for the first emergence of this created matter and energy, the arrow indication along with its encoded date would record a time when the galactic center outburst became apparent to Earth observers. So that means that there was a lot of energy that came through that galactic center at this time that this arrow was pointing, which might indicate that that is when we saw the merging of this discovery of this merging with the Sagittarius galaxy, right? The Sagitta constellation is part of the ancient constellation lore message that uses the language of archetypal metaphor to record the past occurrence of a galactic core explosion. This message relates how an intense cosmic ray wind issued from the galactic center and after 20,000 light-year journey began to pass through our solar system close to the end of an ice age. So this is pointing to some serious stuff that went on, 20,000 light-year journey, okay? But let me keep on going. One of the things that I noticed, and I'm going to go through this quick, is that I started kind of looking and being like, well, they say celestial navigation and marine navigation are the same. A lot of people say that. And when you're going to like well-produced sci-fi films, you see that anything representing space or spaceships or navigation, they always have like a Navy type of presence. There's captains, they have the suits, and all of this stuff that's really marine related. And they have marine terminology. And I'm a captain, a marine captain. So I know these terminologies. So to the left here is what an image of what a pulsar looks like, which spins a beam of light, just like a lighthouse, which is to the right. So you can calculate the pulses of a lighthouse. And then I'm going to go one step further and show you, because these are marine navigation markers. They operate just as pulsars. They emit pulses of light so that you can know where you are. So here you have, I'll just show you this one here. This is how you read this. You see, you have a green light flashing FLG 6 seconds, which means flashing green light, 2 pulses every 6 seconds. And here you have the line that indicates that. And this line is important to know because I'm going to show you this line in space navigation, in celestial navigation. 2 pulses, 6-second blink, 2 pulses, 6-second blink. This is how it looks like on a chart. When you're reading a chart and you're entering a harbor and you don't want to run up on rocks, you look at these and this says flashing red lights, 2.5 seconds. Every 2.5 seconds, have flashing red light. Here you have flashing red light, 2.5 seconds. So this is marine navigation. These are pulsars of light, and this is how we navigate. So this is the connection that I put, and I'm saying, okay, pulsars make sense because that's how I navigate when I operate my boat. All right, so this is the connection that I'm kind of making here. So now this is where it gets trippy, and this is the same writer. The pulsar network then is ideal for space navigation. Being easily distinguished from one another, pulsars provide a means whereby spacecraft may accurately determine its location through triangulation, and that's how we navigate. They also allow accurate determination of velocity from Doppler shift of pulsar periods, meaning if you want to navigate with triangulation, the further away you pull from the pulsar, the slower the pulses are going to be. So that's how you can navigate. And if you think this is trippy and you think this is so out of proportion, wait until I show you a few more slides down of something else that's using these pulsars to triangulate positions. All right? Because it's going to trip you out. Because right now, some of you may be thinking the same way I was like, this is out of this world, bizarre, bonkers. All those words that you can put is all those words I said, but I read it. Okay. Doppler shift, the pulsar periods, and clock retardation from the change in the pulsar period derivatives. In addition, their broad spectrum makes these beacons ideally suited for high-speed interstellar flight. It allows their signals to be detected by narrowband radio receivers onboard spacecraft traveling at almost any speed, regardless of the degree of Doppler frequency shifting. So you can navigate with this. So I'm just going to keep on reading and then open some more stuff. Spaceflight navigation. If extraterrestrial civilizations have developed superluminal spacecraft, they would need a means for charting their course through the galaxy. One might consider then whether the primary function of the pulsar network is for use in space navigation. It might function somewhat like our own GPS system. All right. I'm going to move on to the next slide because this is saying the same thing. It's pretty trippy. So now it's like, well, what does all this mean, and why are we worried about the galactic center and all these things, right? So I'm just going to point out something for some of you who know. It's about the Pleiades and our cycle. So we are known to be going right now through the photon belt, which has been predicted since the beginning of time, and it's connected to the Pleiades, which is why if you look at photos of the Pleiades, they're wispy clouds that are surrounding their stars because they reside within this photon belt, which we are just passing through. And here you can see our sun. It's just about to pass through. Now, this is what we refer to in the Mayan cosmology book, where they say the 2012 marks the point that we are now going to be entering into the age of light. And that's because we are going to be entering into this photon belt, which is this nebulous gas that is supposed to interact with our sun and raise our vibration. So this is the path of our solar system right now, and it's been predicted by the ancients, which is why the ancients paid attention to the accurate positions of the stars and the constellations, and which is why when the sun on 2012 was in the galactic center, it pointed out that now we're on our way towards light, because precessional cycle is a 25,920 year cycle, which they say here is 26,000 year cycle. So this is marking our travel in the precessional path. So this, okay, and then NASA even proves it, but they don't say that we're going through the photon belt and we're going to have this enlightened consciousness and all these things. The solar system is passing through an interstellar cloud that physics say should not exist. But however, if you look at ancient lore, the ancient lore says it does exist. So in December 24th issue of Nature, a team of scientists reveal how NASA's Voyager spacecraft have solved the mystery. Astronomers call the cloud we're running into now the Local Interstellar Cloud, or Local Fluff for short. It's about 30 light years wide and contains a wispy mixture of hydrogen and helium atoms at a temperature of 6,000 degrees Celsius. The existential mystery of the fluff has to do with its surroundings. About 10 million years ago, a cluster of supernovas exploded nearby, creating a giant bubble of a million-degree gas. The fluff is completely surrounded by this high-pressure supernova exhaust and should be crushed or dispensed by it. So they're saying that this long ago, supernova exploded and created this fluff that we're now passing through. If you notice, when we were reading all that information from the other book, it said that we had an explosion that released a lot of energy that came through the galactic center. So this is what we're kind of dealing with. And here's just another image of this photon belt. And here you see the stars of Pleiades and our solar system entering, and like it going through the cycles, the precessional cycles, which are ascending and descending. So here you have it looks like a donut. So we're coming into it, which is 2,000 years of light, which is what we refer to as the golden age. And then, so now we're going to have the 2,000 years of light, and then we're going to slowly descend, and then we're going to have an ascending, and then on this point, we'll have another 2,000 years of light on the other side of this donut. And then again, 2,000, then we're going to have the 11,000 years of descending, and then the 2,000, then ascending, and then 2,000 years of the golden age, right? So this has been shown over and over again. and been saying since the beginning of time, but we've been saying that's crazy. And then now NASA says, well, we are moving through a patch of dust that's 23 light years wide. Well, here we go. This is the patch of dust that the ancients have been talking about, which is predicted as the Age of Enlightenment, which connected to the stars and the timing, which is why you have to pay attention. Okay, so here's my conclusion, that what I've come up with for this entire presentation is the conclusion is the 2012 winter solstice alignment with the galactic center marks the crossing over towards the photon belt. This is what's called the photon belt, bringing the golden age of light. This ties in with the great year cycles. This ties in perfectly with our calendar year and what we see with all the sons of God being born on the 25th and having a 3-day resurrection period. The sun is at its lowest point on December 21st, sits for 3 days, stops moving dead, then begins moving north on December 5th, which is seen to be born again. Resurrects 3 days later. The sun moves 1 degree a day. In the great year, it moves 1 degree every 72 years. So in essence, 3 times 72 years, so 3 times 72 years, versus the 3-day resurrection is 216 years until we're fully into the photon belt, I believe. So 2012 plus 216 means the year 2228, we are going to be in this whole photon belt enlightened evolutionary state. All right, that's my conclusion based on all this work. So now, most of you might be like, holy shit, this dude's nuts. Or most of you might be like, oh my God, that sounds so true, because yes, I mean, everything makes sense. But what's all this crap about this freaking spaceships navigating with pulsars? And, you know, Captain Ike, you're just kind of crazy talking about this stuff, right? I mean, I don't know how many of you can agree. You can say it in the chat. You know, how many of you think I'm nuts talking about this stuff? And at some point I thought I was nuts, right? But then further research led me to this. This is the plaque on Pioneer 10. And there's also another one on the Voyager, which are both interstellar probes, which means there's probes that are going past, they're going to interstellar space outside of our solar system, meaning we're going to introduce ourselves to life. And this plaque is communication. So obviously this plaque says, hey, this is who we are. It's what we look like. This is how we communicate through this probe here behind. I forget. I think these are the chemical compounds that we make up. I think it's like, I forget what it was, but right. And here, these spheres here, this is our solar system, and it's pointing to the third sphere, which is Earth, and it's saying this arrow pointing to this probe, which is the probe that they would have probably found, saying, here's where we come from. Now, what is this weird looking pattern of all these lines and all these stars? Okay. These are 14 pulsars. Okay. And if you look closer, if you can find this on your own online, if you look in, you zoom in and you get a nice high resolution photo of this. These pulsars, just like I showed you on the marine navigation light buoys, they have different intervals of pulses at different times, saying, for example, this line here, let's say it's 14 pulsars per second. So you need to line yourself up with that, triangulate, and receive 14 pulsars from this pulsar. And then from the one to the right, you need to receive 3. So if you're off, if you're receiving 15 pulses, that means you got to go closer, and then you should be receiving 3 from here, and then receiving from there and from there. So once you triangulate yourself with all these 14 pulsars, which, like we mentioned, like that book mentioned, that you would have, if you were doing interstellar travel, you would already know these pulsars, because we obviously know these pulsars. Because why do we have these pulsars documented on this plaque? So we know pulsars because we're traveling into interstellar space. So whoever's traveling interstellar space also knows the pulsars. So it's very easy for them to find what 14 pulsars these are, triangulate the positions, and then you can find Earth. All right. So that's what I'm talking about, which is just trippy. All right. And this is what I usually close my presentations with, is my mission, my work is merging science, which is here's Carl Sagan, showing the Dalai Lama pictures of galaxies. And this is where I'm at, this is my work. So I hope that was clear. And this is all the trippy stuff that's aligned with higher consciousness and knowing who we are and where we're from, and why we should be paying attention to celestial alignments, because we are in a state of cosmic awakening to being our full cosmic embodiment, rightful self. All right. And that's why Sidereal Astrology is the bomb. All right. So I want to share this clip with you. So I hope you guys can stay on. So, because this is going to trip you out. Does anybody have any questions in the chat that I can answer before we play this clip? And by the way, at any time, if you guys want to sign up on the $5 a month plan, that would be awesome, because the free ones are going to kind of end soon. I'm just kind of sharing it so people can get a taste of what the webinars are like. But soon these are going to be only by subscription based. Any questions? All right, I'm going to put something up because I'm going to do that. If you guys want to join one of the masterclass, here's a link so you can fill out the application, because we're going to kick another one off towards the end of October, moving into November. So you can just click that link there. But yeah, I had some more stuff to share, but I mean, we're going over an hour, and I don't want to take anyone's more time. Oh, Joy, what are the two worlds? Oh, it's the Sagittarius galaxy, and it's our galaxy. Those are the two worlds, and that's where the shaman kings that I showed in the Mayan cosmology, they're said to go into the other world, which is the galactic center. And that's where they're seated. And at that same position is also where Ophiuchus is, the 13th zodiac sign. So everything is pointing to that point of the sky. So, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the next one is going to be soon. Just fill out your application, Zola, and then I'm going to announce the date for that one. So, any last minute questions or anything? Because I'm going to sign off, because I know everyone stayed on late, an hour and whatever minutes. But let me know if anything to chat. Yeah. Yeah, it's all cooking up right now. So I hope that didn't trip a lot of you out, because this is some deep stuff. But this is why astrology is important. This is why a lot of the people who control society don't want you to know all of these connections. But like I said, if you pay attention, disclosure is there, and it tells us like what's going on, and through there you put your pieces together and you realize that we're on a path to enlightenment, and we use our time wisely according to our birth charts, which we have. My understanding and belief is that we've chosen our birth charts, or those alignments, so we can work out our intended path or karma on earth while we're here. And if you don't awaken to that, then you don't burn through the karma, and you stay asleep, and you don't get to use the term woke, and you stay asleep, and then you just repeat the pattern again. Because I remember, if you remember the last presentation I did, we talked about the Hall of Two Truths, where you either pass on to the higher realm or you go back to earth and repeat the cycles again. So this is kind of what ties in to working out your true sidereal astrology chart, your true alignment with the stars and the archetype, and knowing all of these things. So I hope by this presentation, you're now deeply rooted into sidereal astrology, which I'm sure you are, and you're not looking to astrology to figure out who your soulmate's going to be and like what color nail polish you should wear on Friday night, because Friday night is Venus night, and maybe you should wear green and all that stuff. Like, we don't use astrology for that. All right, so I'm hoping that I can get that message across. So, all right, any other questions? Questions? All right, because I'm going to end the webinar, and I hope that it was enlightening for all of you. And reach out to me. Everybody has my information. And yeah, if you want to do this thing, Masterclass, just put that. Mary, first time watching, but was off a piece of. We logged in 5:30. Just call the tail end. Oh yeah, well if you logged in, you're gonna get you should get the replay. All right, you'll get that in there. So, thanks, Joy. You're the best too. Yeah, Mary, you'll get the replay. If you don't get the replay, email me. Because you to get in, you probably received a bunch of confirmation. So you can contact me there, and you have the replay, and you can see the whole thing. All right. Any questions? Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up. I don't see anything coming through. Okay. I love you guys. Love from the stars. That's all we got. And I'll see you next week. I'm not sure if next week's going to be free or not. So, I encourage you to, I'm going to put this one up. I encourage you to join the Sidereal Bites for $5 a month. And if you don't, while you're drinking like a high expensive coffee or you're at happy hour having a beer and you're going to be thinking about, shit, I should have got Ike's thing for $5 a month. All right. So I'm going to leave that up. All right. You guys are great, and I appreciate your support. It makes me feel good when I log on and I see people here, because sometimes I'm worried I'm going to log on and be talking to myself. So you guys are awesome, and thank you for your support and all that good stuff. Oh, by the way, Pluto went Station Direct today, went exact, so now it's on this direct course. I got like 3 or 4 text messages like, what the fuck is going on? Crazy, please look at my transits right now. I can't stand it anymore. So for those of you, that's what happened. Pluto went direct. Okay. All right. So the Lord of Illusion, the Lord of Darkness, destruction of what doesn't work, all that stuff is gone today. All right. All right. Love you guys. Let me see if any last minute chats. Yes, other screenshots. Yes. Rising at 11, Mountain. Yeah. All right, guys. You guys are great. At least. Hold on. I figure that would be the character of karmic purpose. Okay, guys. You guys are awesome. I'll see you next week. Do the $5 subscription because I don't want you to have regret when you're drinking a really lousy beer for $5 and you didn't take my course for $5. All right. I'll see you later. All right. Bye.